young man, haven't you been told California's full of whiskey, women and gold, sleeping out all night beneath the desert stars, with a dream in my eye and a prayer in my heart. I should have been a cowboy.
Your what? Your pack.
The place where we stopped the night before was really close to Texas. It was only a short drive before we got there. Drove through all of these windmills. We also got our first rain on our way into Texas. My parents were pretty happy to be there since they used to live there before we were born. It was bringing back some memories for them. Apparently the people down there think that Pennsylvania is just Pittsburgh and Philadelphia without much of a rural area in between like where we live. And that it's also very cold. Texans are also proud enough for their state to have 2 welcome signs.
I've seen a lot of places, I've been around the world. I've seen some pretty faces, been with some beautiful girls.
Our first stop in Texas was very windy, and everything's bigger in Texas, including the rest stops. Dad continued trying to find a way to deal with the squeak in the back of the car, this time from the outside, and then we were back on the road.
This one thing still amazes me. Just like a miracle, you have to see to believe. 'Cause God bless Texas with his own hand, brought down angels from the promised land. He gave them a place where they could dance. If you wanna see heaven, brother, here's your chance. And I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas. First he let the sun shine, then he made the waters deep. Then he gave us moonlight for all the world to see. Well, everybody knows that the Lord works in mysterious ways.
When we were going through Amarillo, we decided to stop at Cadillac Ranch. It's a place where there's 10 Cadillacs that are all have their front halves buried at an angle in a row. It was made in 1974, and people can just kind of spray paint whatever they want on them.
You gotta be an expert climber.
Or if you don't happen to have spray paint, you can just climb on them, like we did here. Me in this picture, and me and my sister in the next one. After we did a little photo shoot on top of the old cars, we continued hunting for any spray paint can that still had something left inside it. People just leave them all over the place, but very rarely is there paint inside them. However, I did eventually find one with just enough paint in it to write like 2 words, and that's it. I tried to do a picture afterwards and it just couldn't do it. Didn't have enough paint left. My mom tried to get a picture of me and my sister next to the masterpiece, but there was always at least one of us looking away.
I found one and it was just enough paint to write Lance's 2016.
When we got back in the car after Cadillac Ranch, it was the first time our thermometer said 100 degrees, and it said 104 right after that.
It's incredible! We thought it was a junkyard!
Lock out.
A couple guys in first class on a flight from New York to Los Angeles. Kinda making small talk, killing time, flirting with the flight attendants. 30,000 feet above could be Oklahoma. Just a bunch of square cornfields and wheat farms, man, it all looks the same. Miles and miles of back roads and highways connecting little towns with funny names. Who'd wanna live down there in the middle of nowhere? They've never drove through Indiana.
Dad continued his battle with the squeaking noise both outside the car and inside.
For you and me, you're called a harvest moon in Kansas. They'd understand why God made those flyover states. I bet that mile-long Santa Fe freight train engineer seen it all. Just like that flatbed cowboy stacking U.S. steel on a 3-day haul. Roads and rails under their feet. Yeah, that sounds like a first-class seat on the plains of Oklahoma, with a windshield sunset in your eyes, like a watercolor painted sky. You think heaven's doors have opened, you'll understand why God made those flyover states. Take a ride across the Badlands and feel that freedom on your face. Breathe in all that open space and meet a girl from Amarillo. You'll understand why God made it. You might even want to plant your stakes in those flyover states.
When we come to Albuquerque, where we'll be staying for a couple of days, we go to the Potker Mansion first. That is where we'll be spending the nights here. It's a nice little place, bed and breakfast. And then we head out to kind of check out what's around town. Albuquerque, New Mexico is a really cool looking town because a lot of the buildings are made of this adobe type material that just is not used at all in central Pennsylvania, where we're from. It's kind of the part we were at had this park with kind of a square around it. We got some ice cream, sat in the park in front of this church to eat it. One of the shops we went to had a fortune-telling machine. My dad decided to try that out.
Do not slumber, but see world around you.
Oh no. I get this, baby.
Here's a little look around me and Sierra's room at the Potker Mansion bed and breakfast. The owners had a little book about the historic buildings of Albuquerque on the table. We took a look at it and it said that Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Machine Gun Kelly, and Russell Crowe have all visited and stayed at Potker Mansion. It also said it was haunted by Old Man Potker himself, along with a couple other spirits, but they left a note saying that that was, in fact, not true. And we did not see any ghosts during our stay. We spent the entire morning at Petroglyphs National Monument outside of Albuquerque. It's a place where there's 24,000 images carved into the rock. Some of them are pretty clear pictures, like a lizard or a picture of a man's face, but some are just kind of weird symbols. They were carved mostly between 700 and 400 years ago by both Pueblo Native Americans and early Spanish settlers, but some have been dated to be as old as 3,000 years. I like that they weren't labeled or anything. You were kind of just free to wander up and try to find them yourself. We also got a glimpse of some desert wildlife when we saw some jackrabbits hopping around on the rocks.
I'm so thirsty. I've been out here for days. I can't see anything. I'll never get back. I'm hurting.
It kind of looked like a remote part of the desert, so Dad had some fun recreating the scene from Vacation when Clark Griswold finds his family again.
Sierra, how you doing? Who's thirsty? Are you thirsty?
Our next stop was Dad's choice, the Unser Racing Museum. It celebrates the winningest family in automobile racing history, but they also race motorcycles too. There's really interesting history from growing up speeding on the dirt roads around Albuquerque to winning Indianapolis 500 and racing up Pikes Peak. They had a family tree, and it turns out there were even some Dillons in the family. They even spelled the name right. One of the Dillons that they mentioned in the museum even had a couple of wins under his belt. They had a Shelby Cobra, which is one of my favorite cars, and a ton of other awesome cars and motorcycles that were from 4 generations of racing that this family has done. From the original Jerry Unser all the way down through the many, many Al Unsers that won a lot of races. Well, after that cool stop, we went back to the hotel, and we were just walking around Albuquerque, and we walked over to a natural history museum, which worked for me because I'm like a kid that never grew up. I still love dinosaurs. It was great because they had a lot of dinosaurs, from the Tyrannosaurus Rex right at the front to large sauropods like this and Stegosaurus. They also had a cool walkthrough area where you saw the origin of life and its evolution into many different forms. This was one of my favorite places, just to see what the world was like at the time that these animals would have walked around and gone about their daily lives. Also had a little asteroid impact simulation thing, after which you of course entered the age of mammals. We stopped by and saw some art that was outside another museum on our way back, and then when we made it back to the hotel, our grandparents were there, ready to meet us and be with us for the rest of the trip. The next morning was an early one, but we were okay with it because it meant we got a chance to ride a hot air balloon for the first time. Me, my dad, my papa, and my sister went on the balloon. My mom and grandma just couldn't overcome their fear of heights for this one, so they stayed back.
I see the sunrise creeping in. Everything changes like the desert wind. Here she comes and then she's gone again. And I'm just a traveler on this earth. Shut my heart behind the pocket of my shirt. I just keep rolling till I'm there, 'cause I'm a traveler. Oh, I'm a traveler. I couldn't tell you, honey, I don't know where like the rubber turning on the ground. Always lost and nowhere bound. I'm just a traveler on this earth. Sure as my heart's behind the pocket of my shirt. I just keep rolling till I'm in the dirt, 'cause I'm a traveler. Oh, I'm a traveler. I couldn't tell you, honey, I don't know where I'm going, but I've got to go. 'Cause every turn reveals a song of the road, and I'm a traveler. Oh, I'm a traveler. When I'm gone, somebody else will have to feel this wrong. Somebody else will have to sing this song. Somebody else will have to sing along. Sing along. I'm just a traveler on this earth. Sure as my heart's behind the pocket of my shirt. I just keep rolling till I'm in the dirt, 'cause I'm a traveler. Oh, I'm a traveler. I couldn't tell you, honey, I don't know where I'm going, but I've got to go. 'Cause every time reveals a song of the road, and I'm a traveler. Oh, I'm a traveler.
One of the most incredible things about the hot air balloon is how quiet it is. There you can see our shadow on another hot air balloon that was with us. After we laid low over the Rio Grande, we started raising high up in the air pretty fast. We made it to more than 1,000 feet above the city of Albuquerque. Again, one of the most incredible things was just how quiet it was. It was almost like a dream. I'm a little bit afraid of heights, but I wasn't afraid there. You can see a lot from 1,000 feet in the air, and you can see the roof of the Barker mansion. We were trying to get Grandma and my mom to go outside and look for us, describing the color of our balloon. Kind of weird because it just drifts with the wind. There's very little control over where they go. They just go up or down to catch different currents, which means you don't always know where you're going to land. We were coming into this field where another hot air balloon was going down,
We were close.
but we couldn't quite hit it. We were off to the side,
That little gusto in killed us.
so we just drifted right past. The people that followed the hot air balloon on the ground to help it land had to get back in their car and drive to another site on the other side of town. It was alright with us because we got a slightly longer ride, and it meant we landed close enough to the Barker mansion that Grandma and Mom could just walk over and meet us. We had a smooth and gentle landing in this little dirt field right between some railroad tracks and a coffee shop. Then we watched the massive balloon deflate before we jumped out of the basket to go see Grandma and Mom.
It wasn't scary. I didn't get afraid of,
We told them both all about what they missed and how much they would have loved it. We also got some free cookies from that coffee shop that I mentioned, and some snacks from the hot air balloon place, and drinks too. And then we decided to spend a little bit of time around Albuquerque before we left on our way to the Grand Canyon.
Actually, here.
One of the places we decided to stop by was the Rattlesnake Museum. Well, me, Pap, and Dad stopped by. Sierra, Mom, and Grandma decided they didn't want to look at rattlesnakes, especially not in an area where they actually live and are pretty common. However, we managed to get there just in time for feeding time, so we watched one of the snakes eat this giant rat very slowly. We couldn't get close to the glass when it was eating because they thought it would scare it and it would spit out the food and go hide, and then wouldn't eat again for quite a while. But it was pretty cool to see, if you ask me.
That is awesome. Look at that.
Rattlesnake Museum turned out to be a pretty cool place with different types of snakes, other reptiles like this alligator snapping turtle. They even had a little memorial set up to one of the childhood heroes, the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin. We all got a certificate of bravery on our way out. I think the girls missed out on that one.
There was I think about 1988 there.
We met up with the girls in that park and we decided to walk around the square there. Looked at some of the shops. We stopped back at the church that we saw the first day to learn a little more about it. Turns out it's been actively serving the community since 1706 without ever stopping in all of those centuries. It's a pretty cool historic stop. And then we decided to go and get lunch at a restaurant called High Noon before we headed out on our way towards our next stop, the Grand Canyon in Arizona.